This is Toledo Symphony Lab, a behind-the-scenes look at the world of classical music from WGTE Public Media and your Toledo Symphony. I'm Brad Cresswell, and joining me in the studio today are the Toledo Symphony's president and CEO Zach Vassar, music director Alain Trudel, and principal second violin, also artistic administrator Merwin Sue. And we have a special guest. I've got a little walk-on music for you. We're going to play this as you come on stage. That is
Thank you very much.
the wonderful pianist Élisabeth Pion, who is joining us today and also joining the Toledo Symphony on Friday night. It's at the Valentine Theater in downtown Toledo, an all-Mozart program. We're going to talk all about Mozart today, but first, welcome Élisabeth to Toledo Symphony Lab.
Hi, thank you for having me.
I love that on that walk-up music, Élisabeth. I hope you can pass the schnitzel. That sounded very authentic.
It sounded a little bit Bavarian, right?
Oompa.
Yeah.
Not pa. That would be my grandfather.
Yeah, only one pa. Papa. Okay, that was the fanfare of the Beaux-Arts, right? Have you ever heard that before? You know that?
Of course, it's wonderful.
Yeah, the Beaux-Arts, the beautiful arts. Wait a minute, I think I sense a little facetiousness there.
No, it's just French.
Okay. The fanfare of the Beaux-Arts, which they spelled, when I downloaded this, they spelled it as Bozart, right? Like Mozart.
Mozart, yeah.
Which rhymes with Mozart, right? You see where I'm going here?
Yeah, the Mozart trio. Great.
Yeah, Mozart trio, for those who are in the know. Anyway. So, Élisabeth, you are a Toledo Symphony newbie. This is your first time on the program. And what we usually do with special guests is we ask them to tell their stories. So anything interesting about you that we could use to get to know you a little bit better. You can talk about your musical journey and how it resulted in where you are now and coming to Toledo. Okay? I have a little music for you first.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's nice.
Yeah, do I have to tell something tragic?
No, it doesn't have to be tragic. The music gets happier. Actually, here, I can play something else for you. There we go, a little Mozart in the background. Which of those two do you prefer, number one or number two?
I like number 2 very much.
Okay, we'll leave it playing. Go ahead and tell us your story.
Well, I'm Élisabeth. I'm a French-Canadian pianist. And basically, I've been living in London for the past 4 years in the UK. And I'm freshly graduated from the Guildhall School of Music and Drama. So now I'm really looking forward to just step into professional life. And basically, I come from a family of music lovers. No one has pursued it as a career, but there was always music in my house when I was a child and an adolescent. And if I look at my family lineage, let's say there were a lot of people who were self-taught and a lot of fiddle players. So that was the kind of environment in which I was dating. And yeah, it took me quite a long time to decide to devote myself to music because I'm a very curious person and I had just so many interests. But it's been a few years that I'm really very intensely committed, and I'm really looking forward to present this Mozart Concerto, which I love and that I've played before. So, yeah.
Yay! Nice story. I enjoyed that. Now, talk a little bit about, and maybe Elaine, you can do this as well. You two have worked together before in the past. Can you talk a little bit about discovering Élisabeth, as it were?
Yeah, well, she's way too humble, of course. She's won a bunch of competitions, and she's really an amazing pianist. We played together Rachmaninoff, of all pieces, Rachmaninoff's 4th concerto.
Wow.
which is very famous for being very, very difficult to play and to memorize, and we played it a few times together. She plays fantastic. The orchestra was super impressed, and I said, "Whoa, we have to see you again." So I've already asked her for this Mozart concerto. We're planning a Ravel concerto. There's a lot of it's very there's so many pianists in the world.
Yeah.
And it really means something when you hear a pianist and you go like, wow, let's do a lot together after that. It means a lot because, you can always say, well, we'll do a little bit with you. It's like a casting agency, you're good for this, you're good for that, but she's amazing. So, from the very first notes, when she says she's pursuing it very intensely, that's kind of a little bit of trademark I see for her also. She's very intense in her playing, and the classical style as well as the romantic style, and even different instruments. I mean, she can tell you about playing on different clavier that are like original from Beethoven to the ones we have now.
I love the music that's on this concert because it kind of traces the development of Mozart, and you've got this fantastic symphony, but you also have the very first symphony that Mozart wrote, and there's a great story attached to this. You want to talk about that, or I'll talk about it? Before I do that, let me play a little bit of it, because the very first few bars of the first movement really tell you everything you need to know about Mozart. You've got an 8-year-old Mozart writing this symphony. He's sort of waggling his tongue, and then you hear the most sublime music following it, right? And it goes like this. And here comes the tongue waggling again. Nya, 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 right? And then the most beautiful chord progression. It's just fascinating. You want to talk about how this program came together and how you selected this repertoire?
Of course. My idea was to take our public through Mozart's life, and also to introduce them to a few pieces that maybe they know a little bit less. Now we know that's the first symphony, as you mentioned. Maybe we'll talk a little bit about it, and we'll put the 25th also, which is known as the little G minor, right? but it's interesting to know that this in America, the symphony was played for the first time within 1899 and not played again before 1937.
Wow.
And it really got to be well known in the movie Amadeus, right? Because it starts with that. So that's something that I thought was very interesting. Now we know it more, but it wasn't one of his most famous ones. So I thought we have a piano concerto that pretty much everybody knows. So I'm thinking this is the mature work of Mozart. Instead of putting an early concerto and a mature symphony, we all know Symphony 38, 40, 41. And I thought maybe we introduce people to, and our public and the people who are going to listen to his first symphony, a symphony he wrote when he was a teenager, a piano concerto when he was mature. I mean,
he only made it to 35.
Yeah, exactly.
Those are years.
But it's interesting because, as you said, 8 years old. I mean, young prodigy traveling, going to London for that first time, being exposed to that. Everybody's sick in the family, and he has to find something to do. And he said,
I'll write a symphony. Why not? I mean, that's what kids think these days, 8-year-old locked up in the house. It's raining outside. Everybody's sick. I'll write a symphony.
And it's for sure it's written by him, because nobody else has that sense of rhythm and has that sense of harmony also,
What's really interesting to me also is that he uses thematic material in the second movement that he uses in his Jupiter Symphony, the very last symphony that he wrote, that chord progression or that theme that goes ba 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 ba. He uses that over and over again. I mean, Haydn used it also, and a few other composers. But I find it remarkable that there's so much relation between the first and the final symphony as well.
Yeah. Well, I want to showcase the fact that from a very young age, it was already crystallized, the artistry was already crystallized. And that comes from, very often when the word that comes to mind when we talk about Mozart is miracle, right? So it's miraculous and it's unexplainable. and we shouldn't try to explain it. I mean, you should just accept it. Sometimes, it's like listening to Mozart is about faith also a little bit. It's like, you just have to accept it. I mean, this is a gift that was bestowed onto us.
That's interesting.
So anyway, so that first symphony, I think I'm going to talk a little bit more about the 25th because people know a little bit less about the story of that,
Yeah, I have some background music for you. Elizabeth, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm listening. It's very
Glad to have you along for the ride. All right, Elaine, tell us about Symphony number 25.
So we've known Mozart as a little child, like a very, very wide-eyed and absorbing all of this. And then his family, they take him through Europe. You have to think about Mozart as somebody who had the ultimate apprenticeship in life, because he was not like studying Italian art. He lived there, they would go, and they wouldn't go like now, you take a flight, you go for a weekend or you go for a week they would go for like 10, 12, 14 months,
And the travel was not simple either.
Oh, no. So, well, as we know in the first symphony, because they were all going on by water and everybody got sick. Even his father said, I'm a champion at vomiting now. It's like,
Yeah, we're going to have to.
Yeah, sorry about that.
That's okay.
Then now he's traveled a lot in Europe. He's traveled especially to Italy before that, and he's a teenager. He's 17 years old, and comes the period. We've come from. He was born in the age of Enlightenment, right? So where we give a reason to everything, and we have. We go towards logic a little bit more, and then he discovers through Haydn, especially his symphonies, the Sturm und Drang, the what do you say, Storm and Stress in English, that period, and this symphony is actually one of the musical landmarks of that, along with the Haydn, the Passion, the Fire. There are about 5 symphonies of Haydn during that period in the late 30s, and the 40, 44, 49 symphony, but this symphony of Mozart. You have everything in that. Look, you hear rhythm, syncopated rhythm, big leap, all of that. All of those, they underline that. And a teenager who discovers, Storm and Stress coming from Enlightenment, coming from the Galante period. Enlightenment is like, wow, that would be what every teenager would live through, because still now, we're like, we live and we feel so intensely, it's all fleur de peau, for a degree, like, and this symphony represents that. So I want to have something from that period because it's going to be very more mature in the piano concerto.
Yeah.
So, and with all this culture, Italian culture and German culture, French and English, we have somebody who, at the tender age of 17, I know it's not very old, but for him, he already has like quote unquote more than 10 years in the business.
And I just want to go back for a second though, because when we think about the first symphony, he had the joviality that if you imagine you're an 8-year-old and you're going to sit down and write a symphony, you probably would be as careful about this as you could be. But he has the nya 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 that you were talking about, Brad. And by the time he's writing number 25, he's just a pro at this. He can mimic anything but make it his own.
Yeah. Well, we talk about Mozart years because he died so young.
It's like dog years plus 2. I
exactly.
Think. Yeah.
More than 2.
1 year is 9 normal person years.
Something like that. Let me get my slide rule. We can figure that out. But yeah.
Good job, guys.
That was not Elizabeth. That was the recording that we have of Elaine's daughter. How old was your daughter then?
Oh boy, 3, I think.
Yeah. 3 years old. Elizabeth, what do you have to say about Mozart? Let me get a little background music for you too. Hang in there. Okay.
It's a mood.
Yeah, that's a mood, all right.
Let's get in the mood with Mozart.
Yeah, exactly. I just have a lot of affection for Mozart because I find he's an incredible character who, he fought a lot for his artistic freedom, and he was just daring in what he wanted to say, and didn't hesitate to innovate and put himself in quite dangerous situations. And at the same time, he he composes those amazing works of art that are just so refined and so moving. And then, you can beat me on that. Then you listen to his cantata, like my and like all those scatophilia jokes that he was so fond of. And it's great to see that he was a kind of a great chap with whom you would like to hang out with as well, who was really into like billiard, dancing, and nice clothing as well. And just this kind of full, very lively character. And I think it's really reflected in his music, this kind of dichotomy between being a person of great depth and also someone who enjoyed the frivolous way of life.
There's something about Mozart where he brought his great talent, his great otherworldliness to the most base of subjects. You talk about that canon, Lakmir, which we're going to have to bleep, obviously, when we do it, when we put this on air. But the great thing about that canon is it's great music. The words are ridiculous, but the music is kind of catchy and interesting. And, I think that says a lot about Mozart right there. Merwin, you had an interesting idea with the idea of playing the age game. Mozart wrote that Symphony No. 1 when he was 8, and he wrote the other symphony when he was, 17, you said? And then he was in his late 20s when he wrote the piano concerto.
29?
Something,
I think 29. Yeah.
So let's go around and tell what we were doing when we were at those ages, right? and we're going to skip me, so we'll start.
I'm not there yet.
That's right.
Excellent.
Élisabeth is one of the 30 hot Canadian musicians under 30.
Yeah.
Wow. 30 under 30.
Yeah, I'm 26 now.
But you can predict exactly what you'll be doing at the age of 29, and we'll have it recorded, and we can compare a few years later.
You heard it
back on in
here.
3 years.
You heard it here
like
first.
Crystal ball.
Exactly.
Yes, crystal ball. So what were you doing when you were 8, Élisabeth?
Oh, well, I was, I guess a normal child going around playing soccer with my brothers and my sister. I was really much of a tomboy when I was a child. And also I've always loved studying. So I was just reading a book, going by the river. So I haven't changed that much in the end.
Between ages 8 and 17, you didn't change your habits very much.
I guess you always kind of remain the same in a way, Like what you truly love as a child often becomes the thing you still love when you get older. So it's more like the environment changes and everything. But
does it mean anything that
I think
I was a loser when I was 8? So no, something like that. I don't remember 8 years old.
Is it a therapy session?
Yes. Just broadcast to a few 100,000 of our friends, right? Merwin, you play the violin. Obviously, the violin, they start young, right? What was your story? What were you doing when you were that age?
Actually, my first composition was also when I was 8 years old. It was very simplistic. It was called Spring is Coming, and it was for violin, double bass, and piano because I had a good friend who played bass. And so I won a competition, but I got penalized because they said that I was switching between pizzicato and arco too much for the double bass.
Wow.
And I felt this is like a fundamental skill for the double bass.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Let's see what Mozart has to say about that.
That's exactly right.
Yeah. I didn't know that you started your eminent career by composing.
It was actually very similar to a composition that Mozart would have written when he was 8 months old or 8 weeks old.
Again, Mozart years, right?
Exactly.
Mozart years.
Do you think we could get you and Jack to recreate that or do maybe an encore performance?
I think I burned it.
Well, I mean, okay, fine. You're proud of your performance, but
we'll make it up. We'll make it up, right? Yeah. I think it went something like this.
There we go.
Good orchestration.
Spring is coming. There it is. Yeah. Yeah.
I would have been proud of that.
Sure.
Same key.
Yeah.
That's nice. I should have added that buzzer into the sound effect. Oh, well. The things you learn when you're older than 8. What were you doing, Elaine, when you were 8 years old?
Not much, actually. I mean, I have a good 17, but the 8 is...
Well, let's hear 17. Fast forward to 17.
Fast forward to 17. Okay.
You have to make your voice a little deeper for 17,
yes,
right?
At 17, I was... 17. I was playing...
Oh, you win. I know what you're going to
yeah,
say.
I know. I was playing every 2 weeks as a finalist for the international audition for the Montreal Symphony. So I was playing every 2 weeks in the symphony.
Wow.
And I had written my first string quartet, which we played here last year. Yeah.
So this is what Elaine has to say to you, Merwin. Elaine is the winner.
But I started at 12, so it's
anything
I have
else?
nothing before that.
Is there anything else you want to tell us about your accomplishments at age 17?
I tied my own shoes.
That's great.
Oh, wow. That's great.
Well
Congratulations.
I don't want to brag.
Understood.
But you tied them in a very fancy arabesque kind of version.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Yeah. What about you, Zach? Let's go back to 8 for Zach.
I was still using Velcro. Yeah. This feels like a...
I had to think for a second. Yeah. Okay.
No,
hey, don't knock Velcro. I have that on some of my shoes, actually.
Is this your therapy session again?
Yes. We've returned to my therapy session. All right.
Today, Dr. Pion.
Bring it back.
This feels like there's this Sinatra song when I was 17. It was a very good year. That's what this feels like right now.
Yeah. So what did you do when you were 17?
I was a intern at the Toledo Symphony when I was 17. Yeah.
How far they've come.
Yeah. I just kind of stayed around until they started paying me.
You hear that, Elizabeth? There's hope yet. You just stick around.
That's the trick.
That's the trick, yeah. Just
Get
keep
them
playing.
to pay you. They are paying you to come here, I assume.
I think we are, yeah.
I won't ask how much, but
Let's talk about this.
still in negotiation, right? Yeah. Well, that's wonderful. I do have a quiz, a little
Excuse
Mozart
me,
quiz.
Brad?
Oh, yeah. You have some more accomplishments you want to tell us about?
No, we didn't do you.
Oh, no, we're not doing me. I don't remember. I absolutely don't remember 8. I think I had a birthday party that nobody showed up to, when I was 8 or maybe something like that. There we go. You got it perfect. So, but when I was 17, what did I do? Oh, I was almost arrested because I was swimming on the beach in front of composer Howard Hanson's house, and he called the police. So that's one of my stories when I was 17.
Wow.
Okay, wait, we're devoting an entire episode to this story. What just happened?
I want to know how many symphonies he wrote about that.
Yeah, it was quite an experience.
In session with Brad.
I was young and naive. I remember I met I met Emmanuel Axe, right? This was at Chautauqua. I was at the Chautauqua Institution in Jamestown, New York.
Yeah, beautiful place.
Yeah, I met him there, and then I was out on the beach again, and a gentleman came up to me and introduced himself, and it was Hans Werner Henze, who I didn't know at the time. But
do you say, "Hey there, Hans"?
Hans Henze. Hi,
Herr Hans Henze.
Yeah, wow, that deserves another laugh from our supposed to be subject of the day. We're supposed to talk about Mozart. So let's go to
How old
the
were
quiz.
you when you met Mozart?
Still working on it.
All right, got it.
Yeah, we have something to look forward to. Okay. So I've got a quiz for you. It's called Music in the Minor Key Quiz. And the reason for that is because you've got the Symphony number 25 in G minor. Not quite sure where this idea came from, but I know that Mozart wrote very rarely in the minor key. So we're going to dive into the minor key. So what I'm doing is I'm giving you each clues, right? There'll be 3 clues per piece of music, and you have to guess what the piece of music is. So you write it down. You can write down notes or whatever. Do you have something to write with, Elizabeth, or can we trust you?
I can find that.
Just
Okay.
Google,
Just think
Google
of
all
it.
the
I can
answers.
try to find it.
Just think of it. Hold it in mind, and then don't lie to us when we come back and
I'll
say
do
what
my
it is.
best, I promise.
Okay, good.
The
All right.
prize is very high,
Yeah, let me bring in some background music for that. Okay. The composer of this work loved puzzles and famously included one in his music. Not this piece of music, but a different piece. And we don't say who it is until the very end. This piece was included in the soundtrack for a biographical film about a pair of musicians. The final clue is one of the musicians who recorded it was the great cellist Jacqueline Dupre. Okay, so that is your first piece. There are 4 of these per quiz.
Oh.
Second one is...
So we're coming up with the composer or the piece?
You're coming up with the piece. You get extra credit for the composer. You get super extra credit if you know the key that it's in, right? Okay, this composer once described himself as a really incompetent businessman who is bad at arithmetic. Arithmetic, yeah. Second clue, out of the 32 works in this genre by the previously mentioned composer, this one is probably the most famous. And the third clue is its nickname comes from a German music critic who said it reminded him of something shining upon Lake Lucerne. I think I handled that really well, right? What do you say? Yeah, okay. All right, the third one. This piece was played at the funeral of both President Franklin D. Roosevelt and John F. Kennedy. It has been featured in movies, including The Elephant Man and Platoon, and it originally comes from the second movement of the composer's only string quartet. Okay, so that's number 3, and the final one is... I told you these would be easy, right? This piece is by an Italian Baroque composer, although he didn't actually write it. Its surface in the mid-20th century is edited by the composer's biographer, and it shares a title with the previous piece of music that we just talked about, but it's in a different key. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? Now, I'd be really disappointed if you didn't get all of these. Okay, number 1. What do you say, Merwin?
Actually, the first one I found really hard. Did you get... I'm going to go with the Elgar Cello Concerto, but I don't know.
My guess as well.
Yeah, that's what I wrote too.
Elizabeth, do you concur?
Me too.
Yeah, cello
I was
concerto.
into Elgar as well.
That was not as easy as you thought it was.
Was the
Okay.
movie Hillary and Jackie? Is that
Yeah,
what you're
Hillary and
referring to?
Jackie.
Yeah.
About Jacqueline Dupre and her sister.
I forgot all
Hillary.
about that movie.
Yeah. Well, it's still out there.
Yeah.
Okay, number 2, which was the Moonlight Shining on Lake Lucerne. Moonlight
Becomes You, Moonlight in Your Eyes,
Keep
Moonlight
going.
Sonata.
Moonlight Sonata.
Yeah.
Ah,
Yeah, the Moonlight Sonata by Beethoven. Do you know what
Have you
key
ever
it's
heard
in?
of that? Have you ever heard of that, Elizabeth? That work?
The Moonlight Sonata.
Sorry, could you please put it on?
How do you say it in French? What do they call it in Canada? French Canada.
La sonate claire de lune.
Oh, yeah, Clair de Lune. I've heard of that before.
Yeah.
Is it in G minor?
No, it's in C sharp.
C sharp minor, of course.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
right, right. Sorry.
Can you tell which piano sonata it is? Extra credit?
14?
Yeah, 14 in C sharp minor.
Nice. Good
Okay. Our third piece, we lost the music. Let me pull up a little. There, that's better. A musical joke.
I always listen to this when I go to the barber.
Oh, I see where you're going now.
Oh, the next one. I was like, what does Mozart's musical joke have to do with the barber? I was trying to... You lost me there for a second.
It's all right. Just keep going. It'll make sense in a moment.
All
Yeah.
right. Next piece. The next piece it has been in movies. It originally was in the string quartet of the composer. And Zach, you want to say what it is?
Oh, no, I'm going to let my colleague Merwin take this one.
Okay, Merwin, what do you
String
say?
quartet and all.
Yes, this is actually the Adagio for Strings by some barber guy.
by Barber.
His name was Chop Chop Barber.
Chop Chop Barber.
Yeah.
Yeah. Samuel Barber.
Oh,
Okay.
that's what it was. Yeah.
The last one for this round.
I loved your first clue.
It was a good clue.
Oh, by the way, do you know what key Adagio for Strings is in?
starts in B flat, so B flat minor.
You are absolutely right. Wow.
It's
Great
actually
job.
really difficult because I was trying to think of how it ended, but I couldn't remember because all the music was getting in the way. So I was like, I know the first note. Let's take the guess.
And that's really interesting because the first note of the piece is D flat, but he plays in the second violin.
Yeah.
That's right.
So
That's a
he
very
plays
good point.
the
Yeah.
tonic.
Wow.
I'm
Yeah.
very self-centered.
Okay.
That
You
was
all
B
lost
flat.
me. You're getting into this musicological
Oh, sorry.
type thing here.
Musicological, logical?
Yeah, something like that.
Scatological?
And that's
Yeah.
On par with
Appropriate to
our-
Mozart, yeah.
exactly on par with our subject today. Our final piece, we didn't get that, is by an Italian Baroque composer who didn't actually write it. What do you say,
It's,
Elaine?
not Albinoni's Adagio.
Albinoni's not Adagio, right?
Oh, it is an adagio.
It is.
Sorry,
It is an
not
adagio.
sorry.
But it's
You-
not Albinoni.
And it's in G minor.
Yeah,
G minor,
it's in G minor. Wow, you guys are clearing up here. Okay.
That first one was kind of a shot in the dark.
we got lucky. I think all of us got lucky.
Yeah.
Well, when he said Jacqueline Dupré, I said, okay,
Yeah.
well, that's got to be that.
Yeah, you had to go with that.
Yeah.
It's been a while since we've done the Elgar Cello Concerto.
Yeah. Elizabeth, do you play cello by any chance?
Yeah, in my spare time, yes.
Yeah, in all your spare time. Well, now that you've graduated at Guildhall, you have a little more spare time. We're glad that you're going to spend it with us. You've never been here to Toledo before, right?
No, never. It's going to be my first time, so I will need to be shown around.
Yeah. What do you expect from Toledo? What do you think it's like?
I don't know. That's what is exciting about it. But,
You don't know.
No, I just I have no clue of what's the spirit there. But if you can give me a few clues, I would be really happy
Okay.
to.
Well,
hear more about
everybody, we'll start with Zach. Let's
each
get
one-
recommendations.
One clue
Yeah.
that will make more sense when Elizabeth gets here.
Let me get some music for you. I'm
Is this
just
the
kidding.
clue?
That's the clue.
Well,
No.
if you're hot dogs.
Hot dogs, yeah.
Mhm.
They have good hot
Really?
dogs in Toledo.
Animals.
All right.
They have good animals in Toledo. Some of them are right here in this studio. What do you say, Merwin?
I'm being pressured to go for beer.
Beer.
Okay.
How do you know that wasn't just a big glass of wine
It was
that
glass.
Zach was mimicking?
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Sorry, I should have said Philip.
Charades go really, really well on the radio, Zach.
I know.
I give you another one. Matisse
Oh,
Matisse.
Ah, very nice.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Or Monet.
or Monet.
Yeah. So we're talking about Tony Pacco's, talking about the zoo as well as the art museum, and then talking about beer with Merwin. No, talking about glass. 'Cause
Yeah.
Glass.
now all of those
I mean,
things.
that sounds like a great mixture of things. Yes.
Yeah. You can eat a hot dog while you're walking through the art museum and go to the zoo with a glass of beer. You'd be all set, just like a real Toledoan.
Yes. Yes. Good to know that.
I
Yeah.
feel like that we are jeopardizing our relationships with some of our partners. Maybe a hot dog in a museum is not the best choice.
Maybe not. Maybe not. But I was just
I
kidding.
imagine
That sounds
somewhere
very good.
there is a painting. I do this with my kids when I take them to the art museum. I say, let's go find first one to find a picture of a lobster or a sunset or something like that. But I bet you somewhere there's a picture of a hot dog. In fact, I just figured out where it is.
It may be. Okay, where is it?
This is it's in the modern era. There's a streetscape of, I believe, New York, and there's a delicatessen, and hot dogs are on a menu
That's
along
right.
with the
Yeah.
painter's signature.
Yeah, that's right. I can
I can
picture
see-
that in my head now.
Yeah, the incredibly photorealistic.
Very much so, yeah.
And the
Yeah.
lobster is in the Dutch.
Yeah,
the
it's
Dutch
a
room. Yeah.
exactly.
Well, Elizabeth, you have to go see the big mural that they have at the Valentine Theater. That's another
That's right.
another must-see thing because it has so much history depicted there. So there's a lot
Including-
to do in Toledo. I mean, are you going to have much time to go out and do stuff? Elaine is nodding yes.
Yeah.
He's like, we'll cancel rehearsals. It'll be fine.
You always end
Yeah,
early,
but I
so
think between rehearsal, it's
Yeah.
good for inspiration and just
to get in the
get the vibes of the city in.
get in the mood.
Perfect.
Let's talk about the Piano Concerto Number 4. I've got the third movement queued up here, right?
Number 4.
I mean, it's Concerto 24.
Elizabeth's over here like, what?
No, I just want to talk about a completely different piano concerto, right? Than the one you're playing. Now,
We were told you were good under pressure. Let's see.
Have you seen that? There's
I was just thinking about that.
There's a video going on of the pianist. Who was the pianist? Was it Maria
João
Pires?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It sits down,
Yes.
and it's the other concerto.
Yeah. So if the
But she plays the whole thing.
So if we start playing the concerto
Yeah,
number
yes,
4, don't be thrown off, okay? Just jump right in.
But now you've spoiled it. I can prepare myself. You know.
Oh, don't worry. We're really going to play the 5th.
Yeah. Rachmaninoff 5th.
My favorite.
Anyway, let's talk about piano concerto number 24. And Elaine, do you want to set the stage for this piece, or do you want to hand
We
it
have a
off
production
to
team that does that.
Yeah. Okay. It's a union job.
Well, I could, but I talked a lot already, and I would like to hear what Élisabeth wants to talk about. I mean, the only thing I'll say is that like all later Mozart work, it has a very special place for a woodwind instrument in it.
Yeah.
And the late concertos have a lot of that, and it's because Mozart knew wind players like personally. So it's written for people. It's not written for instruments.
Well, you, Elizabeth, are taking on the role of Mozart himself as the pianist. Now, is it true that in this concerto he also left like little blank spaces in the solo part because he would fill it in on his own later?
I don't know if it's
Yeah,
like...
well, he got a bit in a hurry, so he was just like, well, can't write this down. But yeah, there is quite a lot of room for cadenzas and improvisation, so it's really creative for the person who plays it, I think.
Are you going to improvise any of that, Elizabeth?
Well, I've never improvised live on stage, but what I do is when I'm in my studio, I do improvise, and then I write down a few options, and then when I'm on stage, I try to take something that I've been through before, but perhaps I will improvise for the first time. You never know, because I remember playing in masterclass for Robert Levine, and he's such an inspiration for me, and he was just really telling us you should really dare to do it on stage. So perhaps that is a good occasion to do so.
Yeah.
But I did write my own cadenza for the first movement.
Are you just hearing this now, Elaine?
Yeah. No, I love it. It's great.
Yeah. You wrote your own cadenza for this piece. I mean, that is tradition.
Yeah.
A lot of pianists who are capable of doing that write their own cadenza. How old are you again? 8 years old? You're very young. You have a long life ahead of you, and lots of great stuff to do. Where does this particular piano concerto fall for you? I mean, have you been working on it for a long time? Is it something you've lived with for a while?
I mean, I think it's been about 2 years now. No, a year and a half, because I played it first actually on a forte piano with Arion, which is a Baroque orchestra in Canada, which was amazing experience. We did also number 13. And
but you didn't do number 4, huh? You didn't do number 4.
No, not yet, but I will bring it, I promise.
You were talking about playing on a forte piano. Is that what you said? Yeah. So a piano like a Mozart's
exactly.
Time, that kind of thing?
It was a bit older. It was like a Broadwood at the beginning of 19th century. But then a few months later, I played it with a modern orchestra, so I had both experiences. And actually, last year, I did something for the first time, which was conducting from the keyboard.
Wow.
It was a course in Italy at the Scuola di Musica di Fiesole. Don't worry, Alain, I'm not going to conduct. But it was a great experience just to, be a bit in the conductor's shoes, and also just to get back to Mozart's way of doing it, because obviously there was no conductor back then.
Yeah.
So I've been carrying the work for a little while, and it's just such a rich score with the largest range of instruments of any concerto he has written. So very orchestral. And yeah, I find it very inspiring to hear all of the instruments. And for example, when I directed it from the keyboard, to be surrounded by all those sounds and all those different timbres and expressions was so inspiring. So it's a concerto I cherish very much, and that I will look forward to deepen my relationship with it. Yeah.
We'll give you a yay for that. That's
I'm very
great.
glad.
Alain, do you feel threatened by Elizabeth's conducting? Coming after you anytime soon? Yeah.
No, I'm very happy. You know what? To have that experience for Élisabeth, it means that she knows the score inside out, and it will be more like chamber music. You know, the especially that second movement with the woodwind, the exchange that they have.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, like I said, Mozart wrote for a community of musicians. He didn't write for a clarinet or for a flute. He wrote for this person, that person.
Yeah.
So we're going to have that same feeling. Now I'm very happy you did that, Élisabeth.
And in this case, he was writing for himself when Elizabeth takes on that mantle at the Valentine Theater.
Can I ask a question? I would love to know how this concerto is different for you, Élisabeth, on a modern piano and a forte piano.
Well, it's very different in many ways in the touch, in the range of colors you can have. I feel like whenever I'm on period instruments, I need to work a lot more with articulation and timing. What is great also in period instruments is the real sense of scale, because you don't have those extra octaves that the modern piano has. So you really, you are confined to a certain territory. At the same time, I really don't find any problem in playing on modern instruments, because it gives a whole new range of possibilities that I feel can enhance the music as well. So it's very different in the mindset, but the main things in the music remain the same, and that's what leads is the quality of the music, of the instrumentation, of the voice leading. So
which do you prefer, modern piano or forte piano?
I want everything. I just feel like if I can have both, I'm very happy, and as long as it's with people who are willing to explore, because I feel a lot of music is about with whom you're actually playing.
Yeah.
So as long as I have collaborators that have interesting musical ideas, I think the instruments are almost secondary.
What about toy piano? Have you ever tried that? I would love to see.
Well, I take back my word. That's not secondary.
She can play on the toy piano, and I'll try to kick a football at the same time.
Yeah, exactly. Well, let's do one more part of our quiz, right? The music in the minor key quiz. I've got 4 more questions, and you should get these pretty easily. They're pretty easy. Let me find some appropriate music here. And let's do this one. We've already played this a little bit. Okay, so that's the piano concerto. We're coming back to that. All right, here's your first clue for this piece of music. It was probably written in the early 1700s, but it wasn't published until 1833, when it was championed by another famous composer. This piece is forever associated with Halloween and scary films, since it was used in a 1931 movie about a doctor and his evil alter ego. That's hard to say, evil alter ego. That's like Hello, Hans Werner Henze, right? This piece really became famous when it was used as the opening for a popular Disney film in 1940. Okay, so that's your first piece. Second piece. This was the only concerto ever completed by its composer. It was the first of its kind to be recorded back in 1909. And, fun fact, a soloist died while performing it in 1951 with the Philadelphia Orchestra at Carnegie Hall. That's the second one. You're all looking at me with blank stares.
There are 3 totally blank stares. So, Elizabeth, you need to help us out in this one, because we have no idea. On this
I'll give you a clue. It's a piano concerto.
I also need help.
Okay, moving on to the next piece. This piece of music went to the moon with Neil Armstrong. There's a mural in Iowa that honors the composer of this piece, and it was an attempt at a new American sound of classical music. That is number 3. And the final one, this famous snippet of melody has been used by several other composers in their works. This composer published his mother's letters to prove that he himself wasn't the son of the devil. And the last clue, this piece is the final one in a series of 24 short pieces. Okay, so let's go back to the beginning.
What's that second one?
I know.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Well, 2 and 3 are.
Okay, the first one.
I think I have it, but I'm not sure.
Okay, well, we'll go to you when we get there. Let's go back to the first piece. Everybody know what that is? The Halloween-y piece? Yeah. Toccata and fugue.
In D minor.
In D
We were
minor.
chosen for our beautiful singing voices.
Hey, speak for yourself. Johann Sebastian Bach. Okay, the second one we're gonna let you take a guess there, Elizabeth. The only
Okay, I think it's Grieg. It's Grieg Piano Concerto, but I'm not sure.
you are correct.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, the Grieg Piano Concerto. The first piano concerto to ever be recorded back in 1909. They did a 6-minute version of it for the recording. And I'm thinking, that would be amazing. Just do the 6-minute edit, and be done with it right there.
I'm going to go track that down.
Yeah, track it down, definitely.
Who was
we'll
the-
bring
who
Elizabeth
was-
back for that.
Who was the artist who died?
Yeah.
That was Simon Barrer, B-A-R-E-R, Barrer, maybe.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, in 1951 at Carnegie Hall. He like fell to the floor and they took him backstage and he died.
Wow.
What
Yeah.
an amazing story. I mean,
Yeah.
I've never heard of that
Never
story.
heard that either.
Wow.
Yeah. So as an encore, Elizabeth, I expect you to learn that 6-minute version of the Grieg Concerto. I think it'd be a great...
Well, I have a lot on my plate.
Yeah. You have the 4th concerto, you have to get the Greek. But it's only 6 minutes.
yeah, something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Our third piece of music, it went to the moon with Neil Armstrong. A recording of it did, actually. Any ideas, Merwin?
Dvorak New World?
Dvorak New World Symphony. Yeah. And why is there a mural in Iowa that honors him?
Spillville.
In Spillville, Iowa.
Yeah.
They had a big Czech community, and he almost felt at home there at that place. He wrote his American String Quartet there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, the final piece. Famous snippet of melody used by other composers in their works. Some famous pieces that at least one that you should know, Elizabeth, the Rachmaninoff variations on a theme of, right? So what piece are we looking for? Elaine, you want to jump in?
Oh yeah, well yeah, the 24th Caprice by Paganini in A minor.
In A minor, yes, by Niccolo Paganini.
Is there
Okay.
a trombone version of that?
Actually, yes.
There is?
Oh, I can't wait to hear it.
Yeah,
Oh, you can.
that's going to be that's going to be your. I
my
totally
gosh.
forgot what I was talking about, but that's going to be your encore, Elaine Sherrill. Right? Yeah, when you're conducting from the trombone, right at the front of the orchestra. Yeah, that's wonderful. Well, I do want to mention the concert again. It's happening this Friday, October 21st, 8:00 p.m. at the Valentine Theater in downtown Toledo. Pianist Élisabeth Pion is here with us and will be on the stage of the Valentine performing the Piano Concerto number 24. Make sure I get that right and don't say the wrong number. Piano Concerto number 24 in C minor by Mozart. It's an all-Mozart program. Also includes Symphony 25, Symphony 1, and the Overture to Marriage of Figaro. Elaine Trudel at the podium with the Toledo Symphony Orchestra. More information at toledosymphony.com or 419-246-8000. Well, that brings our program to an end. We're just about out of time. But before we go, I asked you guys to prepare a single word, that describes Mozart himself, or one facet of Mozart. And we're going to do a flash round, just go around the table. And Élisabeth, I'd like to start with you, and then we'll bring it back to me as we go around the table. So what is your word? It can be in French or English. What do you say, Élisabeth?
I mean, the thing is there are so many facets to Mozart. Am I allowed to say like 3?
Okay, if you want to, say 3.
Okay, I'd say vitality, naughtiness, and innovation.
Vitality, naughtiness, and innovation. I like
Those
that.
are great words.
Mm-hmm.
What do you say, Merwin?
I'll go with Amadei because of the controversy about it, but I also think so. His middle name, Theophilus Amadeus Amadei. I'm going to choose one of those, mostly because it means loved of God and beloved by God. I think that kind of tension between being loved by God and loving God, I think that's so inherent in Mozart's music.
Yeah, and this too. Okay, Alain, your turn.
I'm going to stick with Miracle.
A miracle,
Yeah.
yeah. Wonderful. Zach?
I have 2.
That's okay. Let's hear them.
The first is 8, and the second is free.
8, as in an age?
So if you take every composition that Mozart wrote and played them end to end, start to finish, the next one, the next one, and the next one, it would take over 8 days.
That sounds like a project for you, Merwin.
It really doesn't.
Your next concept concert. All Mozart. I mean, literally an all Mozart concert, right? Yeah. The wheels are turning.
Yeah.
Okay. Wait, what was your word again? 8 and free?
Oh, and free, yeah. So he was really one of the first freelance composers, freelance musicians, when he was kind of leaving the court system. And he was also a Freemason, so that made him both a freelancer and a Freemason, although he was neither a lancer nor a Mason.
Yeah. My word was facetious because it kind of speaks to that, what we talked about earlier in his naughty canon, where he was able to take the most base kind of wording and add the most sublime music to it. It speaks to that dichotomy of Mozart and his personality. And his music sometimes, right?
Dichotomy is a good word, too.
It is.
Yeah. Yeah. I look forward to when you guys play Luck Merriam, you know what, on a program, right? It'll have to be one of the chamber concerts, probably. Mozart Unleashed or something like
Chamber
that.
pot concert?
Can always count on Zach for a good pun.
Well, there we go.
All right. Well, Élisabeth, your laugh has infected us here. It's wonderful to have you with us. So what do you think? Your first time on Toledo Symphony Lab? And your last time, evidently.
I had a great time, so yes, thank you for the invitation.
Okay. Well, I didn't expect you to say it was a terrible experience, but you can tell these guys the truth when you're actually here in Toledo. Élisabeth Pion playing with the Toledo Symphony on Friday night, 8 p.m. at the Valentine Theater. Piano Concerto number 24 in C minor by Wolfgang Mozart. Notice I skipped the Amadeus Amadei controversy there. An all-Mozart program, music from the symphonic repertoire as well as the opera repertoire, and of course the piano concerto that we're going to hear with Élisabeth Pion. Élisabeth, as I say goodbye to you, I'm going to bring in a little more music again. This is your walk-off music now.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Makes me want to play in a concert.
This program is a production of WGTE Public Media in collaboration with our sponsor, the Toledo Symphony. You can download episodes as a podcast by going to our website at wgte.org/lab. You can also subscribe to us through your podcast app of choice, including Apple, Google, and Spotify podcasts. Don't forget to check out all the upcoming events at the Symphony by visiting their website at toledosymphony.com and their various social media outlets on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. You can find the TSO streaming platform online at stream.artstoledo.com. My thanks to Zach Vassar, Elaine Trudel, Merwin Sue, and to our special guest, Élisabeth Pion. I'm Brad Cresswell, and this has been Toledo Symphony Lab from FM 91. Did I missay your name? How do you say your name for me, Elizabeth?
It was very beautiful how you said it. Don't change it.
Okay.
You said Élisabeth Pion. Yeah, that's it.
Okay.
She said it was beautiful, not necessarily correct, just beautiful.
I just wanted to make sure.